Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here. Yeah, I decided to binge watch the second season, and I remembered watching it all before, and now I remember why I didn't remember a lot of what happened in the second season. And anybody that loves the second season of the show, I don't hate the second season, but it has some major issues, in my opinion. But yeah, what I am talking about is Love Chunibyo and Other Delusions Heartthrob. Stars about the same people as last time with basically one new addition, and I will talk about her because she's one of my issues. But here's the thing. This new season doesn't really add much. I'm just gonna get straight into the nitty fucking gritty here. This season doesn't add much to the story of Yuta and Rika. It doesn't add much to the relationship. The furthest they get in this season in the relationship is that they hold hands. And you know what? I will say this season is way too long. I know the last season was 12 episodes with an OVA, and I'll talk about this season's OVA as well. And I'll explain what an OVA is for the people that don't know what an OVA is. But the main thing I could say about the season is that it's disappointing for me as a fan of the first season. Now, again, like I said, without the animation being as gorgeous as it was in both of these seasons, and I will get to that, it's not an amazing story. I will say that. And this season really feels. You really get the feeling that the animation's doing a lot of heavy lifting. But before I get to that, I will at least address the new character who is Satone Shichimiya, a character who is someone from Yuta's past. They went to middle school together. She had Chunibyo just like he did, and she still has it. She's come to this high school. And to be honest, this character doesn't really add much. And I will talk about my problems with her now, because the main reason this character is here is to try to add plot to a season of the show that doesn't have much plot to it. Because again, like I said, the most that goes forward in this relationship is that Yuta and Rika like they hold pinkies, then they hold hands. And then sorry for the spoiler alert, but you think they're going to kiss at the end and they don't. So it doesn't feel like this season did much, like in the way of progressing the relationship or progressing the story, because the season feels to me like this season feels like it should have been like a movie. Because this series has multiple movies. It has a recap movie of the first season, uh, which I can't remember if that's separate or the same thing as the Rika version thing, where it's like, oh, recap of the first season, but from Rika's perspective. I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch it. Apparently, the only thing it adds is a couple new scenes because it's from Rika's perspective. And there's the Take on Me movie, which I do want to see because apparently this film ends their story. And it's pretty short, so I'm fine with watching it. Um, but here's the thing. This season feels like it's supposed to be bridging the gap between the first season's OVA, which doesn't really add anything to the story, neither does this season's OVA, but that's been kind of the point with OVAs for pretty much any genre of anime at this point. They don't really move forward the story. They're usually a form of fan service. But this season should have been maybe 4 episodes just dealing with Yuta and, well, I forgot her name, Rika, their relationship. Because I do like their relationship to a point. There are certain parts of this season that really grind my gears and make me not care about the relationship. But let me explain first off what an OVA is. An OVA is original video animation, which means that it is not based off of a previous writing. So you can have OVAs for anime that are in manga form or in book form beforehand, and then they get an anime adaptation. And then the OVA can be an unrelated story that's basically just either like, oh, we're going to do a comedy episode for this horror show, or we're going to do a kind of an etchy episode where it's just fan service, and it's that kind of stuff. The OVA for the first season was basically just they go to Dekamori's house and get drunk and they wear cute outfits. That's about it. It didn't add much to the story at all. In that OVA, they tease a kiss between Yuta and Rika, and it doesn't happen. This season's OVA, I will say I liked a bit more. Because, again, some of these episodes are really slow and don't move the plot along. Most of the season is filler. And again, if you feel differently, perfectly fine. I understand. A lot of people love the season. There are people that like the season more than the first. I don't see that at all. But yeah, it's not that this is one of the worst anime I've ever seen, because it's not. But, and I'm being totally honest when I say this, I enjoyed Pupa more than this. And someday I will review that because it's only like 40 minutes long without the opening and ending credits. But again, this OVA deals with like Yuta gets like a flash drive with pictures of a pop star that he likes, and Rika's like, "Oh, you broke our bond," that kind of thing. And it's a cute OVA. I liked it. It doesn't really add much to the plot at all, but there is some actual character development in it, and I didn't mind it. The rest of the season, though, is where I get problems, which a lot of them deal with the new character, Satome, who, again, is an old friend of Yuta's from middle school, and she still has feelings for him. There are multiple episodes dealing with this, and she's like, there's not much to her character other than that. Because at the end of the day, of course, she's not going to fall in love with him. We already know this. This anime is not exactly anything new story wise, just like the first season. But the first season I enjoyed quite a bit. And again, I don't think I would ever want to watch this season again unless I only watch the plot specific episodes. But again, the if any of the seasons needed to be truncated into a film with only the plot relevant shit in it, it's this season. And I wish it was like a feature length season. Because, again, these seasons aren't super long. Without credits, they're about 4 hours long. But only about an hour and a half of what's in the season is relevant to the plot of anything and moves the story along. And yeah, like over half of the season is just kind of filler. There's an entire episode dealing with a fake Mori Summer who's just trying to get at Dekamori because she thinks she's cute or something. There's an entire episode dealing with um I think there was an entire episode dealing with the Greg Ayres character having somebody write a letter. No, that was in the first season. I'm sorry. They There's an entire episode dealing with, again, Satomi's crush on Yuta, and again, it gets a bit tiring. I got really burnt out on the show, and here's the thing, I kind of fell asleep during near the end. I went back, I watched what I had missed, and I didn't miss much. I never fall asleep during things. And again, I'm not giving this a super low score on purpose. I don't have anything against the creators of this show. I don't know them, to be honest. And I can respect them not making the show super fan servicey, which is something that happens in a lot of high school set anime, especially with underage characters. And again, like I said in the first season, this series doesn't really do that. It makes references, but it never seems to go that extra step too far. There are references to characters doing things, but for the most part it's kept like in your imagination, which is fine. It never gets that far that it's like, oh, fan service or anything. There's no nudity in this show. There's suggestions to nudity, but not nudity in of itself. It is not a TV mature anime. It's I think TV 14 or TV PG. But again, this it's hard to talk about this season. There's not a lot to talk about. The most that happens again in the season is that Rika ends up staying with Tagashi, Yuta Tagashi, and they are basically a couple now ever since the ending of season 1 and the OVA, and not a ton happens in their relationship. They get set up to go to an aquarium where they end up holding hands. Um, and yeah, by the end of the season, their relationship just doesn't grow that much. And again, one of the reasons that my score is as low as it is compared to the first season is that it moves at a glacial pace. Now, I will compare this to another romance anime that I think is a lot better, Toradora. Now, I don't know if I like Toradora as much as the first season of this, but here's the thing. Toradora didn't need insanely amazing animation to tell its story the way it did. It told it in a fun manner. I liked the characters. I found the main character to be very interesting in how he's like, oh, people don't like to talk to him because he looks angry all the time, and same thing for Taiga. And I really got engrossed in the story. And I really cared about all the characters. I thought even the characters that you think are just going to be one-trick ponies end up having deeper backstories. And to a point in Love Chunibyo, they have this, but not as well as Toradora. And here's the thing, this anime has more than a passing resemblance to Toradora. I'm not saying it rips it off, but from what I hear in the Take On Me movie, that is a sequel to both season 1 and season 2 of Love Chunibyo, um, they end up trying to elope, which is what happens in Toradora. They try to elope because I think Taiga's father was trying to like take her somewhere. I forgot what it was. But yeah, it it feels very similar. Um, and here's another thing that kind of just doesn't come back from the first season. Um, there in one single scene, I think the first season, I can't remember, season 1 or season 2 of Love Chunibyo, Rika's mother comes to see her and leaves her a lunch and then just never comes back. And I was like, oh, are they going to build up this character? Or are we going to find out why Rika doesn't want to talk to her? And we supposedly get a resolution to the drama around that, but not really. She doesn't come back. She doesn't get, like, Rika doesn't ask her for forgiveness for how she's been acting. And it just kind of didn't sit well with me. It kind of felt like they just dropped the plot line out of the blue. There's this whole thing between Dekamori or Sanae Dekamori and, well, the girl that you're supposed to think that Tagashi Yuta is gonna be with, where Sanae thinks she's fake Mori Summer, and it's a continuing joke from the first season. It did great on my fucking nerves. And another thing that really just doesn't sit well with me, especially in relationships in real life, as I've kind of dealt with this, not in a specific relation sense, but I had a friend who would act like this. But um, every time the new girl, Satome, would like be nice to Yuta. I'm sorry, I'm having issues. I am tired. Rico would get super jealous and be like, "Oh, I from now on, I am the only woman you pay attention to. I'm the only girl you pay attention to." And it comes off very manipulative, and I understand. She's new to the whole love thing. She thinks that any random woman can just like take him up and like take him away, and it just didn't sit well with me. It just kind of felt very, you know, manipulative. Excuse me again. It just came off a bit manipulative, and it didn't. There's like an entire episode revolving around that. She thinks that he's trying to cheat on her or something. And again, it makes me mad that they even introduced the Satome character who doesn't come into the show. She's on the poster of the show. She doesn't come into the show until episode 3. And again, I know, 12 episode show can only do so much in 12 episodes, but this show stretches the content. It stretches what little story is in this season, and enough story is here for maybe 6 episodes. But most anime are 12 or 13 to 24 to 26. And yeah, it just came off very it was boring. I gotta say it. This show does have its moments. This season does have its moments that I actually like. There's some development between Yuta and Rika. There's some development friend-wise with other people. And there's also other characters that just kind of are there. Um, Guruman or Kuman doesn't really go anywhere as a character. She's kind of just the one that's tired all the time. There's the one that's after her, the guy that like goes from like having rocker hair to being bald again to having hair, and then I guess getting a spray tan or something, and then he has like a boyfriend at the end, and then he just disappears. He disappears from the entire show. There's no ending to his character. So maybe he comes back and take on me. I don't know. But I'm more frustrated than I am mad at the show or hateful of the show. I don't hate the season. It's just a big fucking disappointment. And again, without the animation being as beautiful as it is, and it is still beautiful, this would legitimately probably be a 4. Because again, there are things that I like. There are a 4 or a 5. But the animation's doing a lot of heavy lifting in the season, and it kind of feels like the animation's kind of being wasted on this material. And I hate to say that so much because I know how much hard work goes into animation and how fucking hard it is to get even a second season to a show that's popular. Toradora was like a huge anime when it came out, even in Japan and America. Did pretty well on DVD from what I heard. And it's never gotten a second season. It got a video game. It got a PSP game that I've never played. Maybe I'll play it sometime, or I don't know. But if even a super popular anime can't get a second season or a movie to finish out the story, then the anime industry is weird. But yeah, like I was saying, again, I don't hate the season. I just would rather not watch it again because you can you can legitimately go from this to the Take on Me movie without missing anything. Because in this season, all you need to know happens is there's a character named Satome. She wants to be with Yuta, but can't because Rika's there. She ultimately ends up giving up because she fights Yuta's dark flame dragon. I know that sounds bad if you don't know what the show is. Uh, Yuta and Rika end up holding hands halfway through the season, and then They almost kiss, but they get interrupted because a cat has babies. That's all you need to know that happens in the season, and I just saved you 5 hours, around 5 hours, 4.5. So yeah, it's. I'm not even sure I'm glad I watched the season, but yeah, without the animation, this would just be a straight up not great season at all. Um, and yeah, that's about all I have to say. But yeah, I'll try watching the movie. Apparently, it fleshes out the last bits of the story, which that'll be nice at least, because I do care about the relationship and everything. But yeah, and maybe sometime I'll rewatch Toradora and review it. That'll be cool. But yeah, that was my review of Love Chunibyo and Other Delusions, Heartthrob, or Season 2. I hope y'all enjoyed the review. If you've seen this season of the series, please comment below what you thought of it. Counterpoints to mine, whatever. Requests for what you want me to watch. And movie review next door. Out.